First off, let me thank you for taking the time out to talk with me today.
No problem.
And I just want you to know I was one of the probably millions of boys that were named after your character on Lassie.
I've heard that.
Probably more than a few times. Now, of course, Timmy Martin is the role that you're most identified with, but according to Wikipedia, and correct me if I'm wrong, because Wikipedia is not always the most reliable source there, but your first role was in the 1953 film So Big. Is that where you met Tommy Rettig, who of course went on to star in Lassie before you?
That's correct. He was actually I played the same part. He just played the same boy grown up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but,
all right.
And truthfully, I was not quite 3 years old in that first movie, and I don't remember it. So I don't remember meeting him. But another thing that, well, actually, my first two movies. The second movie was Country Girl with Bing Crosby and Grace Kelly.
Right.
You know, and I was like around 3 years old. Most people don't remember that far back, and those two movies I don't recall, but everything after that I do.
Okay, and I was going to ask you, you were so young, did you remember anything much about it? But and you mentioned the Country Girl, Bing Crosby and Grace Kelly. You were actually in another one with Anita Ekberg, I believe.
Well, I did one movie with Anita Ekberg. That was Back from Eternity.
Okay.
And with oh boy, that was a great movie, and there was a lot of people in that. Rod Steiger, Jesse White, Fred Clark, Beulah Bondi. It's the whole bunch. But one thing that was really crazy about that one, I was about 4.5, I guess, and Anita Ekberg really befriended me on the set. She was always holding me. I was always in her lap. And after a couple days on the set, some of the crew guys would walk up to me and said, "Hey, kid, we'll give you $5 to trade places with you." And I didn't have a clue what they were talking about until I got older, and I always got a big kick out of that.
Yeah, I started to say you probably made some of the older guys jealous when you were doing that. And another one you were in with an uncredited Clint Eastwood.
Yes, that was Escapade in Japan. It was the first movie filmed in Japan after the war. I was 6 years. It was 1956, and my mother and I spent 3.5 months in Japan filming the movie. And Clint Eastwood played a Coast Guard pilot. I was in an airplane that crashed in the Pacific, and I was the only survivor. And but he was not even credited in the credits. I mean, I think he must have been, 19 or something like that. But you can definitely recognize him, and you can definitely recognize that voice.
And, it's funny to think of people being uncredited in TV shows or movies because, nowadays they want to credit everybody with everything.
Oh, sure. Yeah, now even, the drivers. I mean, everybody gets credited now.
Yeah. Of course, the way they run credits on the TV show, you might as well stay uncredited because...
Yeah, because you can't read them anyway. Yeah. They go by so fast. So.
Yeah. I went back and brushed up a little bit on my Lassie last night. I went to Netflix and watched a few episodes. And, of course, I used to watch it a lot anyway. But and I was glad to see that it was on Netflix. But in 1957, that's when you joined the cast...
Correct.
Of Lassie, right? Okay, in the fourth season now. What? And Tommy Rettig is in the show already.
Right.
Right. All right. George Cleveland and Jan Clayton are also cast members. But then midway through that season, the fourth season, George Clayton dies.
Correct.
And then Tommy and Jan Clayton also leave the show, and it's just retooled. Did they just disappear, or was there an explanation?
What happened was the way they made the transition was I was a runaway orphan, and Lassie found me hiding in the barn, and the Tommy and his wife and his mother and his grandfather kind of adopted me, and Tommy ended up going away to school, and so he gave me Lassie, and then he went away and left, and then Gramps passed away. And so Jan Clayton had to sell the farm. And so she sold the farm to the Martins. And then when they closed the deal, the kid and the dog were part of it. So we kind of went with the farm.
Okay. So they George actually dies on the show then.
Right. He okay.
Yeah,
he did. Well, they were.
Okay. All right. And of course that's, well, let's see. Now Hugh Riley and June Lockhart were the parents that are most identified, but they weren't the original parents.
That's correct. My original parents, Paul and Ruth Martin, was a man by the name of John Shepard and Cloris Leachman.
Right.
Was my original mother. And if you look at, Cloris's demeanor as opposed to June Lockhart, they're opposites. And after a few months of filming, Cloris decided she wanted out. She was not going to bake cookies for 6 years. So they had to replace Cloris. But back then, because of, morals and things, they didn't think the public would accept just replacing the mother. So they replaced both the parents. So one Sunday, it was John and Cloris, and then the next Sunday, it was Hugh Riley and June Lockhart. And the studio didn't even get one letter, because nobody cared. All they cared about was watching the kid and the dog.
Well, Cloris Leachman always seems kind of frazzled anyway whenever when I watch her in things. So, but of course, now that's when the change comes. That's about 1958.
Yeah, right about
58. Okay, well that's about the time that I come along. So, Timmy was already popular there, and the name was out there, and so there we go. That's how I come along. So,
all right.
And of course, now June has played so many mothers on so many shows. What's she like in real life?
June is doing great. As a matter of fact, I saw her a couple weeks ago in Chicago. Was at an autograph show, and they actually had a reunion of June and all of her television children.
Mm-hmm. I saw that picture on Facebook.
Yeah. Bill Mooney was there, and Angela Cartwright, and other cast members from Lost in Space. And so we had a really nice reunion, and people really enjoyed seeing us together. And I've kept in touch with June. June and I have kept in touch since day one. But I had not seen her in a couple years, so it was really nice to be with her, and we had a really good time.
Is she the motherly type?
Oh, yeah.
Off screen? Okay. She seems like, I think that would blow a lot of images if we found out she was totally opposite.
June's got her wild side, but she's a great lady.
Oh, okay. Any stories you can tell on the air from your Lassie days?
Well, it was I really enjoyed what I was doing. It was work, it was hard, but I had a good time. We had a couple incidences that happened on the set. We worked with every kind of animal. I mean, from A to Z, you name it, we worked with it. And once we had a chimpanzee on the show, and I had not had a problem with him. And one day I was leaving the set, and he was sitting on a stool. And as I walked by, I just, kind of tasseled his head, and said, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. And he grabbed my hand, put my thumb in his mouth, and proceeded to chew it off.
Okay.
And blood's going everywhere, and I'm screaming, and he jumped off his chair and starts running across the set with my, thumb still in his mouth. And his trainer was this guy right out of, Ringling Brothers. He had a blank gun, and he pulled the gun out and shot it in the air, and that startled the chimpanzee, and then he let go of my thumb. And then, of course, they rushed me down to the infirmary on the studio, and I didn't lose my thumb, but I still have scars on it.
Oh, wow.
From that one time. But, that was pretty exciting.
That's the last time you worked with a monkey, too, I guess.
It was the last, exactly. They are, they can be really mean and very strong.
Yeah. A couple of the episodes I watched last night, there was, they had animals in it. Lassie, there was one where some sheep got out, and you guys were running around trying to raise some money for your school teacher, and you rounded the sheep back up, and Lassie rescued a little lamb, that was caught in the fence. And then there was another one where an owl, you had gotten some owl eggs and substituted them for some chicken eggs that you had broken along the way, and so an owl got after you guys. So,
see, we worked with everything, and it's funny because the premises for all the different shows, it was either Timmy and Lassie saved something or someone, or Lassie saved Timmy. It was pretty simple.
Yeah.
There were always morals involved. Timmy always learned from his mistakes. He didn't talk back to his parents. He listened to them, and that's, I think that's why the show is still on in over 50 countries. People, they're going to be watching it forever, and it's like, if you look at the series that are on today, who's going to be watching those in 20 years? I mean, they're just not, because the quality is not there, and it was, not just Lassie, but all the shows from that era. My Three Sons, Leave It to Beaver, the Donna Reed show. All of those shows still hold up today.
Yeah, I don't see anybody watching Honey Boo Boo here in 50 years.
Well, that's one I haven't even tried yet.
I've just seen the promos for it, so I was like, nope, click, I'll keep going. So
yeah, really.
Now, how long were you on the Lassie show?
7 years, from 7 to 14, and over 250 half-hour episodes.
Okay. Now, why did you decide to move on?
I just wanted to, I didn't want to be Timmy anymore. Tommy went through the same thing. Tommy wanted out, and that's why they brought Timmy in. I was tired of playing Timmy. I'd been Timmy for 7 years. I was, 14 years old. I was starting, to get more interested in girls than dogs. And, and so the studio wanted to go for 3 more years, and the option was mine. And my parents were good enough to say, what do you want to do? You can continue for 3 more years, or you can quit. And I said I wanted to do other things. I wanted to act. I still wanted to be in the business, but I didn't want to be Timmy anymore. Uh-huh. So that really brought about the demise of the Martin family, and then it was Lassie and the Forest Ranger, and then Lassie by herself, and on. But I was just tired, and I ended up doing some a little more television, and then I did 3 more movies and continued on.
Yeah. Well, now going back to the Lassie thing, if somebody had not watched the show and just looked at the publicity pictures of you on the show, they would have thought you only had 1 set of clothes.
Exactly. The reason that, Timmy always wore jeans and high-top tennis shoes and red and white check shirt. And the reason they did that was for continuity, because on any given day, we could be filming from 3 different scripts. So you can imagine if, using clothes all the time, it could pose a problem. So they just had Timmy always wear the same clothes unless we went into town or to church or to something, to an event, then we would dress up. But,
right.
And then the other thing that's neat is my outfit, the shirt, pants, and sneakers are in the Smithsonian.
Wow.
Yeah, it was about 20 years ago, I got a letter in the mail from the Smithsonian saying that they were opening up an exhibit in the American History Museum, television in the United States. And they wanted to know if I had anything to donate. And I didn't have a clue, so I called my mother up. And Mom said, well, I never told you this, but I have your whole outfit. And I said, wow. I said, so, okay, send it to me. And she sent it. When I opened up the box, obviously the memories and the smell, and it was incredible. And my son at the time was about 8. and he wanted my high-top tennis shoes.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, no, Ryan, this is going to the Smithsonian. This is very important. I said, but after we mail this off, we'll go to the mall, and I'll get you some high-top tennis shoes. So he was happy, and I was happy, and we were invited to the opening of the exhibit, and when you walked into the exhibit, it was Archie Bunker's chair, the Fonz's leather jacket, and Timmy's outfit. Those were the first things that you saw when you walked in.
Wow. But I still wear high tops, and I'm 54 years old, so no other shoes feel like high tops, So.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so the Martins have to leave the show. How was that explained?
What they did was, Paul, my father, was a farmer, and he got this. I don't know how they, did it, but he got this offer to go to Australia and teach farming techniques to the Australians, and he decided to do that. But Australia has a quarantine law where a dog has to be quarantined for 6 months, but not in Australia, in England. So Lassie would have had to have been shipped to England for 6 months and then shipped to Australia. So Timmy had to make the decision of what to do, and he made the decision to leave Lassie. And I ended up giving Lassie to Mr. Cully. He was a little, neighbor man that delivered the coal, whatever. And so I gave Lassie to Mr. Cully, and then Mr. Cully passed away, and Lassie went with the forest ranger, and that's how they gone.
All right, so you're gone from Lassie. What comes after Lassie? You've moved on.
After Lassie, the first job I got was with the smartest. I went from the smartest dog to the smartest horse, Mr. Ed.
Yeah.
I had a small recurring part on Mr. Ed, and then I made a movie called This Property is Condemned with Robert Redford, Natalie Wood, Charles Bronson, Robert Blake, and a young girl by the name of Mary Badham.
Yeah, Scout.
She was Scout in To Kill a Mockingbird, and it was a dark movie. It was a Tennessee Williams play. Then the next movie I did was a movie in the Philippines with Gary Merrill, and spent about 3 months in the Philippines when I was, I guess I was about 17. And it was great. It had a lot of fun. The movie was terrible. Nobody's ever seen it. But everybody's got to make a movie like that. As a matter of fact, my wife and I have copies of everything that I've done, but I could never get a copy of, the name of the movie was called Secret of the Sacred Forest, and I could never find a copy. And then a few years back, on eBay, we found a 16-millimeter copy, and I said, we've got to get it. So we got it, and when it arrived, the reels were in olive drab boxes that said United States Army on them. And, these poor guys were coming from, an R&R, and they were having to watch this horrible movie that I made. But it was a lot of fun. We had a great time. And then the last movie I did was with Kurt Russell for Disney called The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes.
Yeah.
And that was in 1968. I had just turned 18 after the movie, and I'd been working 15 years. And so I said, now it's time for a break. And so that's really when I left Hollywood. I moved up to Northern California to go to college, and ended up staying in Northern California, where we live now. Met my first wife here, raised 2 children. I have a 28-year-old son and a 26-year-old daughter. And then we had a new Lassie series in 89-90 on Fox. Mm-hmm. I had a recurring role in that and did that, and that was a lot of fun. But after that, came back, and I was involved with real estate up here for many years. And out of that, a few years back, wrote my autobiography with my wife called Timmy's in the Well.
I love that title.
And which is funny because Timmy never did fall in a well. He fell in everything else, but never in a well. And then I just had a small part in a movie that we just filmed in North Carolina, and did some voiceover work, and I do a lot of fundraising for no-kill animal shelters, and I've also been involved with an organization called Canine Companions for Independence, and it's a national organization that supplies highly skilled service dogs to people with disabilities. And I've been on the board of governors of Canine Companions for about 23 years.
Okay.
And it's just something. It's not a paid position. It's something that I do because I really believe in it.
Yeah.
So I'm still keeping busy.
Yeah. Still staying with the dogs too. I think I saw you
always.
I think I saw you on some dog show. I think it was on Animal Planet where you were a judge or something.
Oh yes, it was the world's.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they have every year. That's been going on for years. But up here in a town called Petaluma, they at their yearly fair, they have this ugliest dog contest, and for a couple of years they invited me to be one of the judges. Well, I'll tell you, there were some ugly dogs.
Yeah, there were. Well, going back a little in your transition from show business to, well, I'll say the real world. Did you go through some of the same problems that some of these other former child stars have gone through?
Well, you always hear the bad. You don't hear the good.
Yeah.
I mean, so many ex-child actors have gone on to do, all kinds of great things. I mean, like, look at Ron Howard. I mean,
yeah.
Opie, he's one of the most incredible directors that there is. And, that's just one example. But, sure, I had my ups and downs. And, when I went through my divorce, there was some, dark places there. And, and then that was one reason that I wanted to write my autobiography, because it's not just about Lassie. It's from day one up until 6 months ago, but it was mainly about how my celebrity affected a typical American family, because my family was not show business people. My father was from Alabama.
Yeah.
My mother was from Texas. They met in Hollywood and got married, and just as a fluke, I got that first job so big. And then I had an older brother and an older sister, and obviously everything that was going on with my life affected my entire family's life.
Yeah.
So that was one thing I wanted to get across.
Yeah, and you hear all these stories of these kids and the things that they get into, and
oh, sure.
Folks from the outside looking in are just they don't understand what these kids, what their situations are.
Mm-hmm. Well, and things today are totally different than they were when I was a child actor. I mean, the money now is just outrageous. I mean, the amount of money, and the parents, the kid gets a job and the parents quit their jobs and they live off the kid. Well, that's not how my family worked. My family, my father supported the family. He was an aeronautical engineer, and my mother was a housewife, basically. I mean, that's how things were back then.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly when people ask about that, I just attribute it to the family. If kids are messing up, well, there's a problem with the family.
Yeah.
Something's going on.
Yeah, and I had talked to Paul Peterson here about a year ago, about all that. And of course, he's got his minor consideration organization.
Yeah. Paul's great. As a matter of fact, I just saw Paul last weekend.
It's just amazing that what some of the kids, I don't know how they were done, and how some of them are continuing to suffer because of things from way back.
Right.
You mentioned the new Lassie show. I didn't get to see it very often, but it aired here when we went to church, so that's why I missed it. But I did, and I missed. There was an episode that Tommy Reddick was in, but I did see the one that June Lockhart was in, and where she revealed you were actually adopted,
right,
by the Martins.
Right.
So you didn't get to go to Australia either, then, I guess.
Well, it was kind of convoluted the way they trying to put it together.
Okay.
Originally, I was I was Uncle Steve. I wasn't even Timmy.
Right.
And supposedly it was because my middle name was Timmy, or my middle name was Steve, and I liked that better. Who knows? I don't know.
Okay.
It was a little convoluted.
Yeah, they didn't explain it too well, now that I think about it. So, but now you've got you a star on the Walk of Fame, too.
Yes, that's true.
Cool.
And that's very, very cool. I got that in, I believe it was in 1994. Yeah, 1994.
Okay. And am I thinking? I may be thinking of somebody else. Do you have another book coming out?
I am working on a cookbook called Timmy's in the Kitchen. So, and it's basically, American comfort food influence from my parents coming from the South and from the Midwest, and except made in a little bit healthier way, not using as the lard and that kind of thing. But
oh, now come on.
We'll turn it around a little bit. So, but yeah, that's down the road right now.
Yeah, okay. Where about in Alabama is your dad from?
My father was from Mobile.
Oh, okay.
And my mother was from a little in Texas, in northeastern Texas, right across the border from Oklahoma, called Wolf City, Texas.
Oh, okay. Your wife now, Lori Jacobson, she's a busy woman.
Right.
I want to thank her, too, by the way, for setting all this up with the interview. I know she writes and produces, and she's got this Living Legends website. Does she handle all those folks, too?
Oh, yeah. Every day I'll hear in there talking to somebody, like Connie Stevens or who knows, Jonathan Winters. You never know. She's in there talking to somebody.
Well, I've seen all these folks on the website, and I'm like, man, I grew up either grew up watching these folks, or some of these folks are still active out there, in TV and movie business.
Oh, sure, sure. Like June Lockhart. June is 87, and she's still working. She's still acting. So,
yeah. Well,
continue on.
I'd like to get some of these other folks on. I'd sent Laurie an email and said, hey, I didn't realize you had connections with all these folks. Can I get some more of them? And she said, yeah, sure. So right. I'm like, all right, got me a connection here. So, all right. Well, I've taken up enough of your time. I appreciate you're taking this time out to visit with me. How can folks keep up with what's going on with you?
Basically, they can just go to my website, which is just my name, JonProvost.com. And there's, I do a lot of appearances, at Hollywood collectible shows, things like that. So if I'm have something coming up, there's a page that shows, different appearances. And then also, people can sign the guest book and leave a comment or whatever, and leave their email. And then if I'm going to, be in their neck of the woods, we'll send out an email and let them know if they'd like to come out and visit and say hi.
Okay, that's JonProvost.com. All right.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it, and we'll be looking out for Timmy's in the Kitchen.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.